I want to start first with the op-ed, then we'll go to Obama for a moment. But this anonymous op-ed in the New York Times, what is your reaction to it?
Well, look, every administration has to deal with people inside the administration who are trying to, bend things in their direction and leaking to the press that bad decision was not theirs. They wanted to go in a different direction. But this takes everything to a whole new level. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in our lifetime of this anonymous op-ed in the New York Times. I'd say two things. First of all, whoever that person is did themselves no good, did their cause no good, and is the country no good. They weren't elected president. At the end of the day, their job is to give the president the best advice, and if he decides to go a different direction, he was elected, they weren't. So if they can't serve his policies, if they can't change his mind, then, they ought to think about whether the best thing for them to do is to leave. Yeah. But I would also say this. I don't think the president serves himself well by paying a lot of attention to it. He's got so much else that he could be talking about. Think about where he is today in North Dakota. This is a place that's seen an energy boom. In fact, think about this. The president came in and said, I'm going to green light the pipeline construction that President Obama blocked for 8 years. Do you know what this means in North Dakota? This means that the state of North Dakota is collecting $500,000 more a day in tax revenue from the production of energy that can now be taken to market. And it's a small state. I mean, it's one congressional district, and that's a lot of money.
I hear you. And the economic policies that he's put in place have been very favorable to places like North Dakota and, frankly, the whole country. And that's what you're seeing reflected in the job numbers, et cetera. But
yeah, sure.
I don't know if I agree with you on not making a big deal of this, because I think it's pretty atrocious that the New York Times published this, number one, and it should have been a very high bar. If I were editor of the New York Times, I would want someone very high up in the administration. We're talking either Secretary of Defense, we're talking Vice President. I think you've got to be thinking someone very, very big. But New York Times did what it did.
Trish,
yeah,
that's your decision. That's your decision. They get to make a decision. That's why we have a free press. I'm just saying what good it does for the president.
Carl, that's so that's why I don't know if I agree. I think that it's worthwhile for him to highlight this, because what this anonymous op-ed showed us, Carl, is that he is fighting his whole group within. He is fighting a kind of deep state. It really does exist.
Trish, everybody knew that the moment they heard about it. I'm saying there's 60 days left between now and the election. Is it better for the president to be saying, I want my Department of Justice to go sue the New York Times over publication, or is it better for the president to be talking about the achievements of his administration and the things that he wants to do to keep the prosperity growing in strength and breadth? And I just think it's better for him to be spending his time on the latter than the former. And you're right. Look, people get upset about it, but I think people have made, if you dislike President Trump, you love that op-ed. If you liked President Trump, you hated that op-ed, and not too many minds are going to be changed over,
I'm gonna
anything because of it.
And say, regardless of how you feel about President Trump, I mean, if you read that op-ed and this person says that he or she is doing the country a service there by staying in the administration, they care so deeply for the country that they're staying so that they can save the country from President Trump. Well, my goodness, then why on earth would you publish something like that? Why would you give it to the New York Times? Because that's not doing the country any good.
Well, as I said at the beginning, what good did it do? I mean, this person, if their cause really is to serve the country, they would have been better to keep their mouth shut and keep serving the country. And instead, they drew attention to themselves. And again, I repeat, nobody got elected except Donald Trump. If you work for the president, your obligation is to give him the best possible advice you can. And if he disagrees with it, that's his decision. He got elected to make those decisions.
I mean, what is he? He has to clean up his shop, right? He's got some people within who really don't like him. They don't like him so much that they would write this anonymously in the New York Times. I mean, if you're him, what do you do?
Well, look, as I say, this carries it to a level that we've not seen in our lifetime. But let me just tell you, particularly in the first 4 years, I remember of the Bush administration, I remember many instances where we'd be having to deal with leaks out of various departments. The State Department would be leaking on the Defense Department because somebody at the State Department didn't like somebody at the Defense Department, and it wasn't helpful. And they were all trying to make themselves look bigger ultimately at the expense of the President of the United States. So I get this. And this has been carried to a level that we've never seen. But again, everybody has to deal with this, and It's just that this one is worse by a factor of magnitude of 10 than anybody has before. No, I don't. I think at the end of the day, 10 years from now, maybe we'll find out who the author of this op-ed was. I just think between now and then, fine, let some people try and figure out if they can identify who this person is. But the president's time is valuable, and his megaphone is valuable, and use both his time and his megaphone on behalf of advancing his cause in 60 days from now, when people are going to turn in their ballots and decide who controls the House and who controls the Senate.
Pretty lousy thing in the New York Times to do as well, to publish this anonymously, in my view, as a journalist. But anyway, let me ask you about President Obama, because he's out today and he's trying to claim victory for himself. He says these good job numbers, they're all the result of him, Karl. Here he is. Let's let the viewers see a little excerpt.
By the time I left office, household income was near its all-time high, and the uninsured rate had hit an all-time low, and wages were rising, and poverty rates were falling. I mention all this just so when you hear how great the economy is doing right now, let's just remember when this recovery started. When you hear about this economic miracle that's been going on, when the job numbers come out, monthly job numbers, and suddenly Republicans are saying it's a miracle.
Yeah, you know, it kind of is a miracle, but it doesn't take much. I mean, I remember the Obama years very well. Taxes were going up, regulations were increasing hand over fist. There was tons of uncertainty over Obamacare and what it meant for corporations. And you know what? CEOs made conscious decisions not to invest, not to hire. And then you get a different attitude in the White House, and suddenly we're growing our economy. Why is Obama out there trying to claim credit for this one? Are the Democrats going to get anywhere on it, Karl?
No, I don't think so, because look, Americans know that we had an anemic recovery, the weakest economic recovery in the recorded history of America under the previous administration, because they burdened our economy with higher taxes, higher regulation. And remember the stimulus bill full of shovel-ready projects that turned out not to be. Does everybody remember all the promises about Obamacare and how you can keep your plan and this is going to guarantee universal coverage? So President Obama, look, it's amazing to me. He's trying to claim credit for the results of what President Trump did to take an anemic recovery and make it stronger and broader and faster. And he will never give credit to his predecessor. You know, I know people don't like the TARP program, but the bailout of the banks and the strengthening of the financial system was legislation passed under his predecessor and largely executed by his predecessor. So, you know, President Obama wants to have it both ways. He doesn't want to give credit to his predecessor for having passed the legislation that gave us the tools to put the economy back in a good place. He doesn't want to accept responsibility for an anemic recovery, and he wants to claim credit when that recovery begins to speed up under his successor, because we cut the regulation, cut the taxes, and because we restored confidence in this administration. Consumer confidence is higher today than it was at any time during President Obama's term. Business confidence is higher. We're getting wages finally now to begin to increase after being flatlined basically under Obama. So, look, he does deserve credit for having acted on and following up on his predecessor's legislation and his predecessor's action to stabilize the economy. But let's be clear, the economy was anemic, the weakest recovery we've ever had, and that was a direct result of his policies.
You say that very well. I couldn't agree more.